How's it going, guys? Vaibhav here and welcome back to another video. Now today I want to talk about Xiaomi's new patent which basically makes your smartphone a transformer, but before we get into that I want to talk about the evolution of smartphones. So back in the day we had the T9 dialer, we had phones from Sony, we had phones from Samsung and Motorola with those flip phones, and pretty much every single brand had their own identity, but that sort of got a bit diminished with the introduction of the Apple iPhone. So if you've forgotten or if you live under a rock, this was the iPhone. This was a revolutionary device and it changed what people perceived a smartphone to be, and main source of interaction for the phone was the touchscreen. Now, since then we've seen leaps in processing power, in how screens behave, screen technology, cameras, pretty much everything on this iPhone has seen improvements in other form factors. So whether that's the new iPhone, the current Gen 1, or new Android devices. But the whole concept of a touchscreen and you having to interact with it has stayed the same. And yes, there are ways where you can augment reality or you can use VR now on your smartphones because it has that processing power, but the essence of sort of interacting with your phone has stayed the same. Now, ever since then, we've also seen smartphones become ginormous in size. So pretty much the Nexus 7 was a tablet just a few years ago, but now if you look at the likes of the Galaxy S20 Ultra, which has a 6.9-inch form factor, it's pretty much a regularly sized smartphone, and pretty much every single smartphone nowadays is this big. And that sort of got me to thinking why these smartphone manufacturers are pushing this agenda of bigger phones. And the main reason for it is that the bigger phones means you get a bigger battery and you get more battery life, and also the bigger screens means people can enjoy multimedia, people can enjoy things like games, etc. Now, to kind of fix that, we've had foldable smartphones, and of note, we've had the Galaxy Fold, we've also had the Huawei Mate X and the Mate XS. Here's a video that I made a couple of months ago over on the GN Tech channel where I compared the Galaxy Fold and the Huawei Mate X simultaneously, so you guys can go check that out. But basically this addressed the issue of bigger phones sort of not fitting into your pockets and giving you that extra sort of freedom of transforming them into a tablet. And overall, I think both of these smartphones nailed it. I don't really think the Z Flip has that much of room to grow. I don't think people like that, but to fit a tablet into your pocket by folding it is just something out of the world. But let's get into Xiaomi's patent now. So Xiaomi's patent is basically one that is sort of combining a foldable smartphone with a twisting camera, and this comes from Let's Go Digital. I'll leave a link to them down in the description if you want to check out their blog, but it's basically a Xiaomi clamshell smartphone with a rotating camera. So the overall essence of the clamshell pretty much is identical to what we saw with the Motorola Razr or the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. And if we go ahead and actually look at the patent, these are many of its different sort of ways that you can see the smartphone. But the internal part of the smartphone, I think, is going to be a foldable display, and I think this will be one of the first ever Xiaomi smartphones to don a foldable display. It's going to be interesting because it sort of borrows the concept of the Z Flip and the Motorola Razr, and if you listened, I didn't really like those concepts. I like the concepts where you can have a smaller phone turn into a bigger tablet, because I think that just makes sense for the overall usability of the smartphone. But nonetheless, the rotating camera aspect is just something that excites me, because you could literally be spinning around the camera and, you know, have a 360-degree camera over on the top, and that basically means you don't have to have any bezel on the front and you don't have to worry about cramming in the camera at the back. You could pretty much have all your camera sort of wiring, all your camera internals all baked into that one thing on top, and pretty much the users can control it. Now, from the looks of it, you do see a front-facing camera, 1 and 4 rear-facing cameras, so that's sort of the style that Xiaomi might be going for with this. And just keep in mind though, this is a patent, so it's not something that we're gonna see on consumer technology anytime soon, because I think this patent was just about surfaced, I think, a few weeks ago or even a few days ago, and this is a conceptual device, so Xiaomi could be playing around with this sort of, you know, form factor, maybe have a prototype, and this is just a patent that's leaked on the side. So pretty much this is what the future of smartphones may look like, and I think we're moving into the right step. I'm kind of bored of smartphones having that one clamshell look. It's boring. Pretty much every smartphone looks the same. The only way you can really sort of differentiate now is by looking at the back and the camera. The fronts even look the same, and if Xiaomi sort of makes this possible, this could be the way foldable smartphones go in the future. I feel like the foldable smartphone in itself gives you plenty of room to, develop, but then again, if you look at the Razr, if you look at the Galaxy Z Flip, in essence they're the same phone, you flip them around and that's basically it. But I think with this sort of extra peripheral on top, it really makes for a unique phone and it gives you that transformer-like effect. Plus, if you turn the camera unit like 90 degrees, you could pretty much prop the phone upside down on a table, and that's just something cool that I find. But this is basically the pattern. I'll leave a link to it down in the description, and you have to take this with a pinch of salt, because even though Xiaomi has been gearing up towards the foldable smartphone market, it's not like every single patent comes true. I mean, Xiaomi is known to patent a lot of different sort of things, and this is one of them. This is a pop-up style selfie camera which has 2 cameras on the front, but wait for it, it has 5 cameras on the back. So that's another concept that Xiaomi's probably patented, but will probably never make it to consumer technology. It might, with pop-up style housings. With pop-up style housings can accommodate IP68 certification, maybe this could be what we see on the next flagship device. But I think this just a bit too excessive in my opinion, and I think for Xiaomi to do this would be a really bold step that I don't think they're capable of making at this moment in time. I think they need to establish a market first of all, and then go with these kind of funky products, because I think then you have the market and these would sell. But yeah, this is basically the foldable Xiaomi phone that we're looking at. Do you think this is going to come to consumer tech? Personally, I don't think so, because Xiaomi is known to sort of take risks, but not overly dangerous risks. I don't think they're gonna do a foldable smartphone with a flexible display and a rotating camera unit, but I could be proven wrong. Maybe Xiaomi thinks this is the time to capitalize, and this is how they're gonna do it. If they can have like a really insane camera unit on this thing and genuinely prove to us why we need such a different form factor, maybe this could be a hit. I'm pretty sure this is also not going to be that excessively priced compared to other foldable smartphones. Given how Xiaomi likes to operate in the smartphone world, we can expect a bump up in price in terms of, when we're comparing with Xiaomi phones. But I think if you compare with the likes of the Fold 2 that's coming out in a few months, the Mate XS2 or whatever they're gonna call it, I think it's gonna be a cheaper rendition of that, and even a cheaper version of the Motorola Razr 2, which apparently is coming out this September. So yeah, this is gearing up nicely towards the next half of this year, where we'll see a lot of foldable smartphones, and we'll have to wait and see which company sort of outshines one over the other. But let me know what you guys think about foldable smartphones. Are they going to be the next conceptual device that, the iPhone was when it revolutionized things? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. This was Vaibhav, and I will see you in the next one. Adios.